Welcome to The Lived Experience. I'm your host, Joel Kleber, and if you're a first-time listener, this is all about sharing people's lived experience with mental illness and mental health challenges. On today's show, we're going to do a solo episode. We just want to give you an update with a few things and just talk about what's coming up with The Lived Experience and what we have planned. So stay tuned, and hopefully, if you haven't left a review yet, please make sure you leave a review to wherever you listen to your podcast. It really helps. So thanks for joining me again, everyone, on the Lived Experience podcast. I just want to talk about a few things which has been happening. So I recorded a great episode with Lottie O'Day from Satellite Foundation, and she shared a lived experience about having a mum pretty much with schizophrenia, or I think it was a delusional condition, and how that impacted her. It was a really, really great discussion. I haven't heard anything in the mental health podcast or sort of video world talking about the stuff we did, and we got that on video, and that'll be out very soon enough. So make sure you stay tuned to that. Let's talk about a couple of things at the moment. So I don't know if you felt this, but I've definitely felt this, is that Melbourne at the moment seems to me be very flat. And the only reason why I say that is I got back from Queensland, just a completely different vibe up there. Life is normal. People are friendly. The weather wasn't the best, but it was just a different vibe almost, if you can say that as a word. I'm not one into the woo-woo stuff, but there was definitely a different vibe I felt up there, which is a bit more happier. Whereas down in Melbourne, to me, even though life is sort of getting back to normal, I guess, in a way, it just seems very flat. Most people seem very flat. There's a lot of underlying stress, I think. I don't think a lot of people have managed to get away from their jobs, or they've got stresses which they've really struggled to get away from, because a lot of Australians, if you're listening outside of Australia, love to travel, and it's been very hard to get out of the country and things like that. And I'm not saying that's the antidote, but it just seems to be a very flat time. And we've got the election coming up in Australia as well, which everyone knows about, and that's always a very depressing time. Whenever you turn on your news, or you go online, you just can't escape ads and all the scaremongering and all the worry about the economy and all that sort of stuff. It's a very worrisome, very flat time. And, what can you do about it? Well, I think it's a great time now. As I said, a lot of older people are resigning for their jobs and looking what they're doing. And I think that's a really good thing to do no matter what you are, whether you're extremely successful or not happy with what you're doing, just looking at your life in totality and going, well, what can I actually improve on? And realizing that life isn't long, it's really short. And maybe making some decisions to go and do something that really makes you happy, or find out what makes you happy. Sometimes you have to just completely step away from your situation, whether it be moving somewhere else or just from your job, or doing something completely different, to really learn what you like or what's important to you in life. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is I did a little quick video on the Instagram page. And basically, it's just a saying that I think is really useful. I thought I didn't understand it a lot later, and I didn't have as much maturity when I was younger, and I wish I did, because I would have definitely acted a lot differently growing up. But one of the things I was told was to be mad at the illness and not the person. Now, this phrase, especially if you've got a parent or someone with a mental illness, where it's not really a normal existence, and once you accept that and you can get that into your skull, the more happy your life will be. I'm very analytical and stuff, and me and my mum used to have arguments, or she'd say to me things which are completely not true and made up, and then, me taking the bait would just bite back and have to correct her all the time, and led to a lot of fights and discussions because I was talking to the illness and not the person. So when the illness talks to you, whether it be with delusions or conspiracies or this and that, or reckless financial decisions or whatever it is, it's the illness doing it and not the person. And when you do that, you can be a lot more easygoing. You can be a lot more relaxed and just brush it off and don't let it get you upset, and you have a way better existence. And it's something I definitely really, really regret not doing when I was younger, where with my mum, we had some pretty big fights and things like that. And it was just because I was just so frustrated at the illness. Wasn't it her? I love my mum very much. It was just that the illness that, just really frustrated me a lot. I didn't have any outlets to deal with it. And that's why I always have people on from Satellite or from organisations who help kids with a parent with mental illness, because these organisations help young people, whether it be a girl or a boy, really deal with those feelings of anger, which are there. You might not know it, but they are there because, your life is not normal, or what you would consider normal compared to others. And then growing up, you're in your whole age of comparison, where you're comparing your family to someone else's family. It's just never going to work. So, these organisations do a fantastic job of helping kids express themselves. And that's something I did not have growing up. And I probably think the best thing I did to help myself express was to play a musical instrument. But I'd had no counselling or therapy or anything like that growing up on helping me to deal with those sort of feelings. And, I really wish that someone did persist with that, because it really would have helped. But if you do have a young person, or you are a young person listening, really get your emotions sorted out in regards to the anger side of it. You might not be an angry person, and I don't think I am, but it's very frustrating when your primary caregiver does certain things, and that's not their fault. It's the illness's fault. So be mad at the illness and not the person is one of the best sayings or best pieces of advice I can give you. Now, the other thing I was sort of thinking about in regards to just in general in regards to life and mental health and things like that. And, we're always told, you got to move every day, you got to eat good and all that sort of stuff. And it's a lot easier than what it sounds. And, to be consistently just 1% or 2% better every day or get better at something, it might sound easy, and you might go, oh yeah, I can do 1 push-up a day and then work my way up to 1,000, just do it every day. But to be consistent is very hard. And the phrase of discipline equals freedom, I think, is really, really important. So, I'm a sucker for it. I might do something for 2 weeks, then stop, and then 2 weeks later come back to it. And like this podcast, I said I was going to do one every Wednesday and one every weekend, and then, things happen and you don't do it. So, do you have that foresight to pull yourself out and start really committing to it and starting to achieve? And I think that's just a muscle you gotta work at. So you've just got to, when you don't want to do it, you do it. So, there's so many things in our life where we just put off and procrastinate at work or this and that. And sometimes there's a thing where you've just got to attack the hard thing first and just got to do it. There's a lot of the things we don't like doing, but we do them anyway. So in regards to self-care and love for yourself, you'd think that doing little things like eating well, going into the gym, maybe taking up an instrument, maybe doing a podcast or trying a side business or whatever it is, this stuff is there to make your life better, but you put it off for whatever reason. And those reasons can be boiled down to a few things. And one of the things I've been listening to about a book on trauma, just trying to figure out a few things, and it's quite interesting. And there's this whole topic of self-sabotage. A lot of children or young people of a parent with a mental illness or any other, I guess, situation you can relate to this, is that you almost grow up thinking you're not worthy of good things in your life. And then what a lot of people do is they don't aim high, or they take the easy road and they stay in the comfortable job for 10 years or whatever, because they think that's what their life's good at that level. They don't want to exceed that because they don't think they deserve any better. And I think that's quite a common experience for children and young people and adults even who have had a traumatic experience growing up or not the best home situation, where they sort of think, I've got, let's say, maybe a stable job and I've got a mortgage for a house, but I don't want to go beyond that because I don't think I deserve that. And that's a really bad mindset. It's something I've been looking at myself recently, like sort of going, why don't I deserve these things, And I'm not saying the world owes you anything, but why can't you shoot for the stars and have that and aim for that? And, that's something where I think a lot of people with lower self-esteem, which is from, their childhoods or from unresolved issues regarding the home situation, they really don't aim for the stars in life, right? And you need to aim forward and fail forward to then achieve success, and being scared of rejection and all these sorts of things. But these issues that people don't get sorted out really does hold them back, and it's something I'm trying to work on at the moment myself. But I really think that these traumas, because the reason why I'm going on about this is because a podcast I did, which has just been released with Jen Thexton, about PTSD and this late onset PTSD, and there's so many traumas that happen in people's lives, and some people have a lot more trauma than other, and they're unresolved and we don't deal with them, and then 10 years later or 20 years later or 6 months later or whatever, they affect your behavior in another way. And people might go, well, why do I do this? Why do I drink too much? Or why do I get angry at this? Or why do I do that? And you can trace it back to something that's happened in teenage years or childhood or some sort of event. And because we don't deal with that ever, because we don't want to face up to it because it's hard, it affects our life moving forward. And I think so many issues with people could be resolved if, when we have these traumatic events in our life, that, we get that intervention or we get that help to really process that event. And I seriously reckon we could change a lot of things. I mean, regards to just people's overall happiness, if we start looking at the issues and starting all our behaviors and going, why do I act that way? Is it because of a fear of failure, or I'm scared of being successful, or whatever it is, and trying to get help around that. And it's been interesting trying to find someone to help with that. Like, I've been looking online a bit and trying to find people who specialize in that. And there is some people, but I found what helps me is just listening to a couple of books around trauma, and some other stories of resilience and what people go through. And when you listen to these things, you sort of relate to yourself and you get a bit of perspective. But in saying that, you just look at where your life is and you look at things you're doing, why things happen that way. And most of the time I would say back, a lot of your behaviors and decisions can be taken back to when you were a child or when you're a young person, you've had something happen to you, you've never dealt with it, and it comes out in other ways. So I recommend, if you do have any unresolved sort of traumas or you've never processed things and you've put it off, just try and get some help for it, because I reckon it can make your life a lot better. And this whole fear of success or fear of really going for or challenging yourself is something I really struggle with personally. The reason why I'm sharing it with you is not just to sort of get it off my chest, but I know a lot of other people might be at their lot in life and they're only earning a certain amount of money, and then they're going, is this it or whatever? Or they're comfortable saying, yeah, I'm pretty happy. I don't want much. But in reality, is that just you saying you're scared of being successful, or you're scared of rejection because you're going to have to put yourself out there to be successful in business or whatever? But your fear of rejections, you're holding you back from taking that chance or from doing that investment or doing that business. And I really do think that a lot of us hold ourselves back because we don't have the self-esteem or the self-worth to believe that we can be more than what we are. And it's a tough one. We all know we should be doing certain things, but can you actually act on that knowledge to then go and do it and be successful? And people who do that, it's evidence in society. They're generally people who are pretty rich, right? So people who have believed they're worth more than their lot in life have gone and had a crack and started a business or worked hard and done this and that, and away they've gone. No one's really handed anything to them. And those people have got that innate self-confidence and belief. And I would say, I don't know, I'm not speaking for a lot of them. A lot of them might have not a really good childhood or whatever, but I'd say a lot of them had a pretty supporting parental supporting culture around them where they instilled that belief to them to just go for it and have a crack, and they succeeded. And a big problem with us in society is that, when someone fails, we sort of think of them as a failure when they're not as a failure. All a failure is they're one step closer to being a success, right? You might need to have 100 failures, and in 101th time you become a success. So you might do 10 business ventures and the 11th one is a successful one. But we sort of look down on people who fail, or we find it hard to admit that we failed. And, I'll admit to you right now, I failed at trying to be as successful as I can. There's probably many reasons for that. But I definitely have failed, at trying to be everything I can and being as successful as I can. And, it's something I really want to work on. And I'm sure if you're listening to this monologue, you can probably relate to me and go, well, can you be more than what you are? And you can. And sometimes it just means taking yourself out of a situation, whether it be moving to another place or, leaving a job or having a chance and doing whatever you think that might help you, and just taking that sort of chance and that risk. And I'm sure it'll be all worth it. And then the other thing I want to end on real quickly is the future of the show. Look, I'm going to keep doing this. Probably for me, audio is way easy, but I really do want to step it up a level. So I do need your support in regards to maybe sharing or liking or coming on the show yourself. Not a problem at all. I just want to get better at this. I think we've just passed 20 episodes, and I think the stats are sitting at around, before I moved to podcast provider, I think it's around 1,500. So it's around 20 episodes divided by 1,500 downloads. You can do the math. Might sound like a little, but I think the average 95% of podcasts get like 19 or 20 downloads per episode. So I'm sitting around average with 95% of other podcasters. So it's not something I do to make it big or anything. I just think it's important to get a couple of stories out there from different perspectives on mental health, as I said, because, there's, I think, depression and anxiety, there's enough awareness around that, but there's a lot more around mental health, and that's the whole point of this show. So thank you to everyone who has downloaded and listened to them and actually left a rating. It really does mean a lot. And if you've got any ideas for how I can improve or all that sort of stuff as well, make sure you reach out to me on social media. But guys, thank you for listening to this solo episode, and I will have another episode for you during the week. And then I will also make sure I start getting these videos up and putting more clips on social media so you can digest it and see what it's about. So until then, hopefully you have a great week, and make sure you stay safe during this period as well. Look after your mental health. And until next time, thanks for listening.